If you're thinking about visiting Gibraltar, here are some tips and takeaways from a recent trip I took this past May. And I just want to preface this by saying if you're doing a bigger Andalusia trip and hesitating on whether or not to include Gibraltar, 100% do it. When I was doing research for our trip and coming up with our itinerary, I kept seeing comments of people saying that it was skippable, not worth it, there were better things to see, and I couldn't disagree more. We ended up adding this back to our itinerary at the last minute, and I'm so glad we did because it probably ended up being our favorite spot of our entire trip, and that's saying a lot considering all that the south of Spain has to offer. Not only are the views and landscapes just incredible, we were also blown away by the diversity of sites and activities found in the nature reserve itself. There's really something for everyone here. I would seriously make the detour just to go to Gibraltar. Okay, so now on to the tips. Gibraltar is totally doable as a day trip. We drove there, got there around 11, left around 5, and we found we had plenty of time to see the whole nature reserve. It's likely going for the nature reserve and the top of the rock, and that's what I would recommend prioritizing. If you're arriving by car, park in La Línea de la Concepción. This is the town that borders Gibraltar, and it's just logistically way easier to park in Spain. I'll put the parking garage that we used. It was about €7 for the day and a 10-minute walk to Gibraltar. Crossing the border is best done by foot. In our experience, it was pretty fast, and when you cross the border, you're immediately met with a bus stop, or you can also walk the pedestrian runway into the city center. This is the same runway used for the airport, and it's the only way to get in and out of Gibraltar, so you have to cross it, which is pretty cool. They'll give out free maps at the border, so make sure you grab one of those before heading off. Bus route 10 takes you directly to the cable car from the border. I'm not sure if this is the case with all bus drivers, but our driver would announce all the major stops, so to make sure that no one was missing their stop. And make sure you bring cash because these buses do not take card. In terms of paying for things, they do accept both pounds and euros. And in many cases, the prices were the same despite the conversion rate. I will say the prices were quite steep everywhere in Gibraltar, so I would definitely recommend bringing some snacks and maybe even a lunch. This one may seem obvious, but did not cross my mind when traveling, but if you have an eSIM for Spain, it will not work in Gibraltar. Best bet is going to be getting a regional eSIM for Europe or getting a smaller eSIM for Gibraltar, not for the UK. A UK eSIM will not work in Gibraltar. This next tip is a big one because our trip had a pretty disastrous start to it, and it's because the cable car was closed for the day of our trip and we only found out when we arrived. Check the status of the cable car the morning of your trip to make sure it's open. From my research after the fact, it seems like there are live updates from this Twitter account. With that being said, if the cable car is closed for the day, there are ways of working around it. There are taxi tours that are arranged as a result, and they will be present at the cable car station. You do have to pay an extra fee for these, however. You can also choose to hike up the rock. This is what we ended up doing, and I'll make a separate video talking about the easiest way to do that. In the case that it's closed, you can get a refund for your tickets, but just know that if you decide to hike up to the top, you'll only get a refund for the cable car portion. So one last thing on this point, yes, check the status of the cable car, but also have a backup plan in case it is closed. Can you cancel or postpone your day trip? Will you hike up instead, or will you take one of the tours? Moving on to the layout of the trails in the nature reserve. This is a bit tricky as there's no linear path spanning the reserve, and when you get to the top of the rock, you're pretty much smack in the middle, and there's a ton of things to see both north and south of the station. The streets wind in on each other, so more often than not, a site that will look close in proximity to another will actually be a 45-minute walk, because you're gonna have to be backtracking between them. Lastly, I want to talk about the macaques because we heard a lot of negative things about them in our research. This is just our experience, so it may not be the same for everyone, but we only had good experiences with them. These macaques are super used to humans. They were docile, they kept to themselves, they would not move an inch when we walked past them. In fact, our first sighting, we were unknowingly eating ice cream right beside one, and it completely took us by surprise by just how still she was. It goes without saying, but you should not feed them or provoke them. You should also avoid cornering or crowding them. Let me say that last part is very hard, especially if you're hiking up. They all hang out on the Charles V stairs, which is the only way to get to the top of the rock if you're climbing. Expect them to be on the ledges, walking on the railings next to you. At one point, we had to walk over 4 of them, sleeping huddled together on the actual stairs. Thankfully, we didn't wake any of them up, but they were also basically unbothered because we walked right over them. The stairs are super narrow, so it's pretty much impossible to avoid them, but we found that they'd simply walk away if ever we stopped by them for too long. And at one point we did see one reach out and try and play wrestle with a guy that was walking up the stairs behind us. So that concludes all the tips I can think of for Gibraltar. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment, and if you've listened this far, thank you so much.